Hello friends, today I'm going to show you how to take some ukulele chords and make them easier. Some of these chords are already really easy, but when we're just starting out, the more simple we can keep things, the better. So I'm going to show you some easy chords you can make easier and some tricky chords you can make easier. So let's start with F. The normal way you play F is middle finger on second fret of the G string and index finger on first fret of the E string. The other two are open. We can simplify that by lifting up that middle finger and just playing this. It's called F add 9, and it sounds almost exactly the same as F. I almost always use F add 9 in place of F in any song, so this is an alternative that works really well in most situations. And just a disclaimer, with a lot of these chords, they will not always work, these chord alternatives. They won't always work in a song, so you need to try them out beforehand. Make sure that they sound right to you in the song. It'll always depend on the song, on the key of the song, and the melody of the song. So just try them out first. For G, G is a tricky one for people in the beginning. It's index finger on second fret of the C, middle finger on second fret of the A, and ring finger on third fret of the E. A lot of people find the chord G7 easier, which is just like this but kind of flipped upside down. So I use my middle finger on second fret of the C, ring finger on second fret of the A, and index on first fret of the E, and the G is open. Now this chord alternative will not always work. It will normally work if you're playing a song in the key of C, but definitely try it out first to make sure that it's going to fit in your song. For B minor is one that can be really tricky, especially because it's a bar chord. It's normally played with your ring finger on the fourth fret of the G string, and then using your index finger to bar these last three strings C, E, and A. But if bar chords are tricky for you right now, you can just skip this G string and just use your middle, ring, and index to play the last three strings, the C, E, and A string. You can use your thumb to mute the G string. So if you're strumming a song, you can just go like this and it sounds just fine. You can also use index, middle, and ring. Just play around with different things and see what feels best for you. For D7, a lot of times D7 is written out as a bar chord as well. You put your index finger across the second fret and then use your ring or your pinky to play the fourth fret of the A. But an easier way to do that is to put your middle finger on the second fret of the G, ring finger on second fret of the E, and the other two are open. It's not the exact same sound, but it almost always works. For A minor is already a really easy chord. I like to use my middle finger on second fret of the G. The rest of the strings are open. But you can also just lift up that middle finger and play all open strings. That's called A minor 7. So that will almost always work. It sounds very similar. Again, try it out first, but that's another really good alternative. For the chord B is another bar chord. It's normally played with your ring finger on the fourth fret of the G, middle finger on third fret of the C, and index finger over the E and the A on the second fret. But you can also play that as a G shape, move down, index finger on sixth fret of the C string, middle finger on sixth fret of the A string, and ring finger on seventh fret of the E. Now just mute that G string with your thumb, and you have a B. And it's a little bit higher, so it can make a song sound a little bit more interesting as well when you have those high notes. Now the same thing for B flat. The chord shape of B as a bar chord, if you move that up one fret, you'll get B flat. And the same idea, you can take that G shape and move it up one fret to B flat, like this. Now you can play the G string in this situation. It doesn't quite have the same sound as a normal B flat. It's actually called B flat 6, but it almost always sounds nice in a song. So you can try that, or you can just mute that G string as well. For D is another tricky one for people in the beginning. I usually play it with middle finger on second fret of the G, ring on second fret of the C, and pinky on second fret of the E, and the A is open. You can just lift up that pinky and play D sus2. It won't always does, you can try that out. In some cases, a D7 will work instead of D, but again, you can try these things out and see if they work. For E minor, normally it's played ring finger on 4th fret of the C, middle on 3rd fret of the E, and index on 2nd fret of the A. But E minor 7 is much easier, and it's played index finger on 2nd fret of the C and middle finger on 2nd fret of the A. Again, it's not the same thing, but it's similar. So try it out and see if it works in your song. For E, it's often played middle finger on 4th fret of the G, ring finger on 4th fret of the C, pinky on 4th fret of the E, and index on 2nd fret of the A. But if that feels tricky, you can often play E sus4, which is just those first two, middle finger on 4th fret of the G, ring finger on 4th fret of the C, and the other two are open. Or sometimes, depending on the key of the song, you can play E7, which is index on 1st fret of the G, middle on 2nd fret of the C, and ring on 2nd fret of the A. It's E7. So try those out first. So there you go. There's a few different chord alternatives for you. I hope that's helpful. I'm going to try to add more chord alternatives to this sheet, but you can get this sheet for free on my website. Check out the link in the description of this video. If you have a chord hack that works for you, please let me know and maybe I can incorporate it into this sheet. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.